Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today Nik Hein. Oh no, my clapping. There we go. All right, so Nick, thanks for joining me today, all the way from Estonia. So it's probably a little bit later in the day right now for you. So why don't we start by just telling me a little bit about yourself?
Where to begin with? What would First of all, I'm sorry, English is not my first language, so
No
there
problem.
will be probably some mispronounce and misspelling and wrong choice of words, but I hope
No
I will
problem.
do okay.
You speak more languages than I do.
Probably, frankly, I speak more languages than most people do. Depending how to count, I speak probably four languages
Okay.
and
I
understand
got
two more.
English and some Spanish, so like one and a half.
Uh, I have My native language is Russian, and of course I know Estonian, and as now we speak English, and I more or less understand Ukrainian and Finnish. Uh, what to tell? What? I was born here in Estonia. Back then it was USSR. I'm old enough to remember President Reagan shaking hands with Soviet leaders, and living here all my life and writing for as long as I can remember myself mostly. But I start to escalate my writing career probably last 2 years. What more to tell? I work as a rope access man. That's not
What does that
definitely
mean?
rope access.
Yeah.
You take the ropes and access some places where there is no way to go. Like
Okay.
you probably have seen some alpine jobs like
Okay, so like
washing
you
the
do you
windows. Or, uh,
do you do
sorry.
rescues?
Hopefully not, but I know how to.
Okay.
Uh, It's included in the training. I think I was some light sort of rescue a couple of times where the descending device jumped and I ought to help my friend with it, but that's no big deal. No big rescues, never. Hope I never will. It's too stressful.
So it sounds to me like you have had and currently still have a very rich and exciting life with lots of experiences. So you mentioned the USSR. I was looking at your website. You used to volunteer in a on a suicide crisis hotline. You do this rope jumping and stuff. So tell me, how have all of these experiences informed and influenced your writing?
It's experiences. That's you can say like I can say that everybody need that. Some people can write awesome stories and sitting all the life in the basement or somewhere, but real experience helps. It really helps, and sometimes you get inspiration from some real life situations, um, some basic data or something like this, and it builds your character, so you know how to build a character for your characters,
Yeah. Do you
something
so
like this.
obviously like every writer has a little bit of their own experiences in themselves and their characters. Do you write actual stories? Like I was looking at your website and I saw maybe some like articles. Do you write novels as well or short stories or tell me a little bit about that?
I'm mostly all over the short stories right now. I have uh, I don't know how to call it, plans or maybe projects, or but about writing novels. I have one novel thoroughly planned with chapters and all the characters and the plot and all this, but it's now like waiting. And now I'm all over the short stories. And yeah, I like the short stories for the moment, but I wish I have a time to write a novel, but that takes time, a
Yeah,
lot of time.
everybody.
And
Everybody wants to write
time
a
is some.
novel, but few people actually sit down and do it.
Yeah, and you know, when you get so many good ideas, and some of those ideas are not really fit to evolve a novel from them, they're just like small ideas, and but you don't want to lose them because I know in my experience, if I have some good idea, if I don't use it, maybe I don't know in half a year, probably it will be gone. It's not that I will forget it, but it's just like taste bad, start to
Mhm.
taste bad. And so if I get the idea, I need to use it.
Yeah.
And if you start to write a novel, there probably will be no time for short stories, at least very, I don't know, once in a while. I don't want to write a short story once in a while. I like to write it all the time.
Mhm. There was a famous author, and I forget who it was, and I'm paraphrasing the quote here, but I think she said, writing a short story is like you're walking through a field and there's flowers and it's sunny, but as soon as you start to write a novel, you have to go into the deep, dark forest, and it's not as enjoyable. Something like that. So, is there a particular reason that you haven't started a novel other than the time, or do you just really enjoy the medium of short stories? And what's your short story writing process like?
Actually, I started writing the novel, three of them. Two of those projects are totally abandoned, and one is like lying on the shelf waiting for the opportune moment. I bet I will finish it at some point, but right now I kind of like the short stories. And about the process, you sit and you start to write. That's the process, I guess. But technically, usually I have some kind of idea. I usually wrote them down so not to forget. It could happen, and usually best thing for me is to start the story right away. Like open the file and print maybe first 200 words and see where it goes. If it sometimes it's like from the start to beginning, non-stop. Bam. Then little bit of editing and story is ready. But sometimes it's like half a story and then you can't call it really a writer's block, but like I'm stopping. And no big deal. I'll start another one. And usually when I sit to write, I open like 5 or 6 files and see which one is looking good for me and starting from there.
How many
Kind of
words
this.
or pages do your short stories tend to be?
Mm, the shortest I believe will be like 30 words, and the longest at the moment, something, I don't know, maybe 10,000, little bit into the bigger league, 10,000 words, yeah.
And so, do you plan on making a short story compilation, maybe like putting them all together in a book and selling it as one anthology?
Yeah, probably I will at some point. But you see, the thing is, uh, I don't write in English. I can't. I wish I can, but I can't. I write in Russian. And then I'm just translating it into English. So I kind of have pretty much complicated process to until the project is finished. And if you want to make a really good compilation, you need to not just throw some stories into it. They need to fit each other in some way. Because I'm going all over the place with genre. I don't care about the genre much. Like if you check my site, then you probably notice that. So there is some horror, some sci-fi, some I don't know how to call it, some small short stories like from life stories, and you can't throw them all together. It's not good. So I need to think what I'm gonna use, and first I need to translate all of them. Right now I'm a bit of excited about the YouTube. I started. I think I sent you the link.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to look at it yet, but I will check it out. And I'll put a link to it in the
Well,
description.
yeah, I kinda excited because I'm suck at marketing. So that's another thing that makes me like uneasy about self-publishing because I really suck at marketing and I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm stuck at using the social media, like all the networks. I don't have a Twitter account. I don't have really anything on Instagram. I have account, but that's it. It's probably you can call it empty, and I
And you
don't
know,
know
that's
really
one of
how
the
to use it.
reasons. It's one of the reasons I like doing this podcast is because I know a lot of authors they don't have that talent, so to speak, of marketing themselves. Maybe they're excellent writers, but they don't know how to get their work out there. And so I really like doing this podcast so I can help people like you get their work out there and have and get discovered by a lot of people who would like to read your horror or your science fiction. And so that leads me to my next question, which would be, what's your favorite genre to write in? I know you write in so many different genres, but which one has a soft spot for you?
I would say it's probably science fiction.
Okay.
I at least most of my stories at the moment are in this genre. But from an if you but the novels are not the projected novels. One is a crime story placed at the Viking times, and another one is some sort of, I don't know, historical mythical stuff. I don't know even how to call it. Historical fantasy.
Okay. So why do you
And
like writing in science fiction? And before you answer that question, I saw that you had done book reviews on a bunch of Hugo winners. So have these books influenced your desire to write science fiction, or like walk me through that?
yeah, of course, we mostly, I think, mostly people write what they read.
Hmm.
That's and uh, to explain this, I probably need to go back in times to my Soviet childhood. And in the USSR, the science fiction was a big thing. The fantasy one was probably not existent. Like it was not really good fit for Marxist theory and materialistic and all the stuff. And but science fiction was a big thing. So you can read some. There was some books, science fiction books, and there was also the Western, like English and French, all over the place. American authors in translation in USSR. They were hard to get, but you can. So yeah, I started with it. Actually, the first the first story I ever read, I don't remember how old I was, probably 4 years or something like that, was a fairy tale, some sort of fairy tale. And the second was the short story by Ray Bradbury.
Which one was it?
It's actually, I don't remember. It's the one, I forget the name in English, correct name. It's the one that the movie The Butterfly Effect goes from. The Sound
Okay.
of Thunder or something like that.
I don't know if I've ever read that one. I have read many of Ray Bradbury's short stories. And
The plot
along
is
the,
the
go ahead.
plot is time travel, and some guys travel back in times to hunt dinosaurs, and they were supposed to stay strictly on the platform, and one is stepped off and killed the butterfly. And when they return back, they have seen that the reality is changed. Everything is changed. That's the story. I remember it very well because it's the first story that I remember in my life. So you can now probably understand why I write science fiction.
Yeah. No, I love Ray Bradbury's short stories. I remember reading a lot of them in high school. And then going along the vein of horror, he writes some horror stuff too. Have you ever read oh gosh, I don't remember the exact title. I think it was called like The October Night or like Halloween or something like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about. It's a
yeah,
great.
it was a
I
great
think the
story. The
Bradbury
last
was,
line.
yeah, it's similar like me because I think he doesn't care much about the genre. He
Yeah,
just wanted to write a good story. And
yeah,
honestly, hype about the genre is just a hype. People just want to read a good story. Maybe some people need some this systematization. How do you, sorry about my English, but I believe authors authors don't need the genre. They
yeah,
just need to put up a good story. That's all. That should be fun to read. Well, fun, maybe not funny, but you know,
yeah.
horror
No, I think
story are not fun.
authors, we all have something to say. And you're right that the genre doesn't matter so much, but I think the genre matters for the audience. And so you can appeal to different audiences by writing in different genres and still have the theme that you're trying to get across to all these different people that you're reaching through these different genres is the kind of the way that I look at that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Of course, everybody have their preferences. So if you're just checking which book do you want to read, you're checking for the genre first, I guess, if you don't know the author. So yeah, it makes just easier to connect the author and the audience. But there it's also like, let's say let's take science fiction. The time travel stories and novels are supposed to be science fiction, but there is no science in time travel.
It's
There is
fiction.
as much science there as in some giant flying fire breathing dragon. It's totally unscientific conception, the time travel. So kind of, well, yeah, science fiction, but it's not science. So the genre itself is somewhat like, I don't know, not strictness, not
Yeah.
the,
Well, one of the ways that I've heard the difference between science fiction and fantasy described is that there are fantastic things in both genres. There are things that we don't have currently, but in science fiction, the fantastic things are described as being accomplished through science, even if the science doesn't currently exist. And in fantasy, the fantastic things are described as being done through magic. So that's really how you differentiate between science fiction and fantasy, even if the science doesn't really exist yet today.
yeah, but still you can mix whatever you want to. Some
Hmm.
authors do, and I do it myself. I
Yeah.
actually have a story. I didn't translate it into English yet. That starts like more or less general cyberpunk story. It's some sort of not really distant future, more technological like our time, and some sort of corporations ruling the world. And like I not telling it from the beginning, but it's understandable that some big war just happened and somebody loses. And the hero, the main character of the story, is like he's junkie. He's waiting to trying to buy something for him to get some release. And in the end, this junkie happens to be the demon, and the big war was Armageddon. So he was like on the losing side. The demons lost, but they're still here. They turned into junkies. I'm spoiled a little bit the plot, but I don't care.
Uh-huh. Well,
There
and I
is
think
still more to the.
you bring up an interesting point of like mixing genres, and a lot of people would say, okay, well, this is science fiction and this is fantasy, but in mainstream stories, like for example, the Dune universe by Frank Herbert, there's magic with the voice alongside all the science fiction. And then if you look at like Star
Yeah.
Wars, there is the Force, which is like magic alongside all the science fiction. So people would say, okay, it's two different genres, but in reality, like they're very closely intertwined.
Yes, but you see, I think it doesn't matter that much. what matters is uh, why author need this. Because if you're using some magic or some technology, real or not, you need a reason to use it in your story.
Yeah.
If it just for the heck of it, but then why? Well, that's if it helps to evolve the plot, to evolve the characters, then it's good. Then use whatever you want to. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And people will like it because it's useful. It brings the fun, like you said, like the Force in the Star Wars. It's not much scientific stuff there, I guess, but still people like it. I like it myself. Actually, you can. Well, let's say I, I I have a special stuff here.
Well, I don't know what that is. What is that?
Nostromo, come
No, I don't
on.
know.
Have you seen Alien? Wayland Yutani Corporation from the Alien series.
No, I don't know it.
That's the name of the ship from the first Alien movie.
Okay.
Why I bring it up? Because the alien species totally unreal. Such thing cannot exist. But it's still science fiction, it's still good horror movie and people like it. You see?
So tell me about a couple. Tell me actually your favorite Hugo award-winning book that you've written a review on.
Oh, hard to tell. Let me think. Problem is, I don't remember all the English names for all of them, but probably it was the Dune.
Dune. Okay.
Yeah,
What did you think of the
that was.
movie that came out?
I don't like it,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
wasn't.
I'm hardcore fan of the book, so I probably don't like any movie. The David Lynch movie was more or less okay, but if you didn't read the book, you don't understand a crap from it. It was like this. I don't know. Have you seen it?
I saw the Dune movie. Yeah.
The
I read
old
the book.
one.
Oh, the
The
old
old
one,
one.
the from the
Yes,
80s.
but
Yeah.
yes, by
Where
David Lynch.
Yeah, I saw that one. I wasn't a fan of that either. It was too. I don't know. The scene that I remember most is when the oh gosh, the character's name eludes me. The bad guy, he's floating and he's like
Yeah,
spitting into the into the
Baron.
other guy's mouth.
Yeah, but somehow Lynch got the feeling this atmosphere of the book. I think,
Hmm.
but uh, uh, it's such a complex and big book. I don't know how can you squeeze it into the movie. Whatever, but maybe in the series, but still it's not really fit for the I think for equalization. But people like it still. I don't know. I don't like it. I'm too big fan of a book.
Yeah. I think movies like I would love if my books get turned into movies someday. But you're they can never be as deep as the book is. And I think that acting is a great art, and I think that how do I say this? I think it's great to simplify the core values of a book and put it in a movie, but there's just something about reading a book next to a fire or reading a book on the beach and like ruminating in the ideas and like pausing for a minute and thinking about them and then continuing on and like really getting in the story that like a movie, it's a different entertainment form. Like a movie, you just sit down for 2 hours and you watch it and then you're done and you like think about it a little bit. But a book, like it can take you days to finish and like you really just you have to really steep yourself in the universe to understand everything that's going on. It's just a different medium.
Yeah, but the movie can be good. But
Mhm.
probably if the movie is good, it will be like pretty much far away from the original book. It's like the first Blade Runner. You've seen it, the great movie, yeah? And the book by Philip Dick. There is a really, really long name. I don't remember it in native language. The book is great and the movie is great, but they are so different. You know what I mean? It's like
I've never read the
it.
book Blade Runner, but I've seen the movie. But so I understand what you're saying, though, the difference between the movies and the books.
The book called not the Blade Runner. It's really, really long
Okay.
name. I do androids dream
Dream of
about the
Electric
electric?
Sheep. Yeah,
Yep, that's
yeah.
it. That's it. I like both, but they're very different. Yep, that's it. I actually I have a not a dream, but you can call it a project. I want to make a couple of short movies from by my stories, and I have a friends who like into the small movie, like you know, the indie shorts. Like I like them very much. There is some channels on the YouTube who upload them regularly, and they are really good. Some movies, there's some short movies, 5, 10, 15 minutes. They're really, really great.
So going back to your writing for a minute here, you mentioned that you write in your native language and then it gets translated to English. Now, do you write it and then translate it yourself, or do you hire someone, or do you use Google? Like, what's the translation process?
The software mostly. Well,
Okay.
I know English well enough to edit
Hmm.
translation, but I'm using some AI help for first drafts. Actually, it's pretty complicated process, so I'm writing it in my native language. Then I of course, editing and stuff, and then I'm using some not the Chat GPT. It sucks at translating from Russian to English. I'm using some other stuff that was developed like translating stuff software, and then I'm doing first edit of the draft, and then I'm doing another edit by another software to check my grammar because my grammar in English is sucking too. And then I'm doing the final edit myself to see if everything, all the names and all like whatever. I don't know. You have read. It's actually it's what concerns me most. You've read my the stories on my site. How do they look to you?
So they looked fine. I only read the first portions of each of them because I didn't create an account, so I just read like the first half of each of them or whatever it was. But they looked fine. I didn't see any issue with any of your grammar or punctuation or anything. Um, I guess one question I have for authors that write in different languages is, do you ever have a difficult time capturing the essence of a word? So, for example, if you're writing in your native language and you think of a word, but there's not a direct translation to English, and you want to like you still want to get that idea across. How do you handle that?
That's the best part, to be translator of your own stories. You can do whatever you want, and author will say nothing to you. If I
Oh.
can't find the right word, I just change the stuff a little bit.
Hmm.
Yeah, I used to translate from English to Russian back in times, so I'm kind of not that bad in my writing and my reading much better than my talking because I don't have much practice here in English. But I read free and I used to translate a lot from English into Russian. Actually, I translated, I think, 8 novels from English to Russian and a lot of stories. So I kind of understand more or less what I want, what was written by me, what is outcome when I translated it. So I not that bad, and but I wish I can hire some professional, but it's I can afford it yet. Hopefully, my YouTube channel will grow up, and then I will be rich, and then I will hire whoever I want to do my stuff. But now
Me
it's
too.
really complicated process. Back to
Yeah.
YouTube. That's I have dived into it first. I start the Russian. channel with my stories, which I read myself, because I can't even. Well, I can, but it's kind of complicated to hire a narrator and then communicate with him. And frankly, I don't want to have a lot of. I don't want to bring politics into your podcast, but they are in our life. And with the current situation, I don't want to do much business with Russia,
Yeah.
as you can understand.
Yeah.
So I started thinking, but the YouTube channel did more or less okay. It's kind of growing. People are reading. I already get some thousands and tens of thousands of views. So I started English channel too, and the reason is that I'm suck at marketing, and YouTube doing the marketing for me. Like it's the only place where you can put up some stuff and expect that place will sell itself without me, without with me doing practically nothing but uploading my stuff. You see, and now I can say I'm happy, but I'm satisfied because my channel in English also start to growing. So, and I'm of course using the AI for narrators also because you can hear that I cannot narrate my own stories, unfortunately.
Argue that you could, though. I feel like there's something special about an author narrating their own stories, and even if like your English is not quote unquote perfect, like we're having a fine conversation now, I can understand everything you're saying. You're very clear, and I think you can give certain inflections to your writing and your characters that someone who did not write it does not understand. So I would encourage you to at least try.
Maybe I should. I'm like tentative because I tend to misspell a lot of words and I don't know. It's not good. I think it's not good for the story to like many people will listen and it will be like scratching them a little bit that he misspelled here and wrong intonations here. Like I don't know. Maybe I will test. Maybe I will test. But
Give it a try.
give it a try. Yeah, but the technology that afford us to like, for example, I'm talking to you now. We are having a great conversation, and we are literally on the other sides of the world.
Yeah.
And I was born in times when there were no internet, there were no cell phones, and there were well, generally there were no PCs. So it's kind of fun. For me, it's fun, and to use all the technology that helped me to like translate my stories and narrate them and upload for people and create the pictures for them. It's really great. I don't know. Some people are, yeah, there are some, how do you say, fears, probably it's fears about the AI, but I can't say they are irrational. They're rational, but you can stop it. This thing you cannot ban any technology. There is not a single time in the history that was some technology was successfully banned. We cannot ban even the chemical weapons, but and AI you cannot ban this because even if you do, some people will anyway using this. And this technology, I think, will become more and more affordable. So, in probably, that's my estimation, but probably in like 10 years or maybe 15 years, everybody will be able to build up his own small AI, not a great AI, like real intelligence, but something to translate stuff like we are building the sites now. Everybody can build a website. It's no big deal. Just need to learn a little bit, and here you go. A lot of tools. And probably the same will happen with the AI. So instead of trying to ban it or fear it, I think we need to learn to regulate it and use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And going back to what you were saying earlier about growing up without the technology that you see today. I think a lot about the technological progression of humanity, and a lot of our technology comes from the ideas of science fiction writers. So people are writing things 50, 100 years ago before we even had the idea of the technology. And scientists come and say, let's create this thing. So I think it's amazing that writers can have such an impact and storytellers can have such an impact on the trajectory of society just by coming up with these strange ideas, and then someone will figure out how to make that a reality.
I think it's kind of coexist because writers all not living in some ivory tower. They know, especially the science fiction writers. They know about the science and they know what is already done and what could be done in the nearest future, and they can like extrapolate think with the thought like what it's not like they are just making things up from nowhere. It's making things. It's understandable. For example, I think the first pretty good description of the cell phone that I've read was written maybe in the 30s, probably. It was the story by some writers of the golden age, maybe by Campbell or somebody. I don't remember, but it was pretty good description, quite like similar to what I had in hand every day. And I don't think they just, but the radio already existed back then. And even the TV started to exist, like was first steps into TV direction. So, and they knew that there is a radio and there is, I don't know, cinema and there is some progress in TV. So it's no big deal to figure out that things go smaller, that not always there will be the computers the size of the house, so that things go smaller. That's no big deal to imagine, I think, especially for the writer who, and the many of the modern sci-fi writers are scientists in their own right, like Rob Sawyer or Hannah Ryan Niemi, like Peter Watts, he's biologist, and Ryan Niemi is I think he's into quantum physics, like, and they are the writers also. So going hand to hand.
Some of the great writers like Isaac Asimov, he was a scientist, and Michael Crichton, he was a scientist. So you're right. I think there's these people that have this creativity inside them, but also have the knowledge to explain it to the masses and bring those ideas to life. Before I let you go, what is your main goal with your writing? Do you want to become rich and famous? Do you want to tell a story? What do you, are you just an artist at heart? What do you want to see happen with it?
I think the biggest, the main thing is to tell the good stories, and being rich and famous not bad thing. I can tell I'm not that kind of guy that will say that I don't care. I will write for the future generations. I can say I don't care about the future generations, but I don't. They are not my goal. Um, I want that my story will be read, because otherwise, what's the point? If you're writing just for the heck of writing, well, I don't know. Okay, so for somebody is okay, but I think if you when you're writing, you're actually telling the story. Agreed, yeah. And if you're telling the story, there is should be somebody who will listen or read, whatever you call this. So the biggest thing for me is that my stories will be read by many people, and well, so it so happens that probably it will also turn me rich and famous if it happens. But
Well,
I actually want to go pro writer, but that's more like a dream for the moment. No, not
Yeah.
I don't have much income and don't see it growing fast from my writing, but hopefully
Well,
it will.
if you keep it up, then you will be rich and famous someday. I can see it in your future.
Same with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody, Nik Hein.
Thank you.